Welcome back to the City of Palms podcast, everybody. This is episode 15, and we have a special guest today. She is the singer and rhythm guitarist and main writer for The Young Dead, her punk band in Southwest Florida. She's the founder of Love Your Rebellion, and she's the host of her own podcast, Talking Tough with Frankie Colt. This is Angela Page. How are you doing today?
I'm really good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. This is we're not a music podcast. We've only had like music guests, except last week we had our first skater.
Okay.
But I think we've been looked at kind of as a music podcast, but don't expect like it to be real music heavy because we really don't know our stuff about music.
I can talk about anything. It's
exactly. Cool. Yeah. But yeah, this is our first music guest that is not hip hop because we've had all rappers so far.
That's cool.
So, yeah, we got punk band.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
All right. Yeah. Where are you from? First off.
I'm originally from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. That's where I grew up. I went to college in Orlando and also partially in Tallahassee. And then I moved down here. So I've lived all over.
Sick. Yeah. That's awesome. And then let's see. Have you always been into music or?
Yes. My parents are musicians. My father owned a recording studio in the 60s and 70s in New York City next to Carnegie Hall. And my mom was a vocalist, and that's how they met. My dad was my mom's vocal instructor, so they were not musicians by the time that I was born in the way that they were going out and performing and making money from it, but they did. So there was always music in my house, and I started playing music when I started singing probably when I was like 5, and then started playing the piano around 7 or 8, and I played the piano till I was 13. And then I picked up the guitar when I was 15. So there was like, I've always played music. I've always liked, being around music. So
that's awesome.
Oh yeah. Is The Young Dead your first like major project with music?
Yeah, I would say so. My first serious project. I always played in bands like in high school and like it was like a fun thing. I was really into writing when I was younger, and I think I didn't come out of my shell performance wise and feel like comfortable playing on stage. Until I was like later in life, like, in college and stuff. And so I did that for a little bit of time, like for fun and things like that. And then once I got out of college is when I really was like, okay, like, I know it seems weird that I would start later on, but like, I was like, okay, now I feel like really comfortable that I can like get up and do this and lead it. Cause I always wanted to be the leader.
Yeah.
So like, I didn't feel good about that until I guess I was a little older and was like, yeah, I want to do this. So yeah.
When did you come to these parts of Florida?
2011 I moved here. Yeah, 2011.
Was that by yourself or with your family?
No, my boyfriend is originally from here, and he graduated from Full Sail. And when he graduated from Full Sail, we came back down here so he could work with his family on some stuff. And we ended up just sticking around because I like beach towns. That's just my vibe. And if I'm going to be in Florida, I'm going to be by the beach because otherwise you're doing it wrong. So we just stayed, he got some good tech industry jobs that were like remote and stuff like that. And I just like found a lot of community here. So it was easy for me to do what I wanted to do. So we stayed.
What was the music scene like back then? In 2011. I know that wasn't super long ago, but what was it like?
Actually, like, way worse. So I've seen this city grow a lot in terms of art and culture. When we think about, like, how many snowbirds and how many older folks come here, like, multiply that by, like, at least 10 and, like, minus the youth by, like, at least 50. So, like, it was, like, harder to find venues. There was a few that always, like, made it happen, like Howl Tattoo. They've always been when they were downtown back then, and they always made it happen. They were the people who like helped start Music Walk, so they were like one of the first people to give me an opportunity. And Rackham's in Cape Coral, so these places are still around now, and they're like those are the places that I remember being like the strongholds, the places that everybody could go who wanted to do music of any kind, and they still are like that, so it's cool.
Did anything change around the time, I don't know, 2011, like around when FGCU really started becoming like a force in this community. Did that change things a lot?
Yeah, so as the influx of college students have come into the area, not just FGCU, but FSW as well. FSW became FSW because before that it was like Edison Community College, essentially. And so now that we have 4-year universities and we're like, bringing in more college students, I think that the city is noticing that in order to keep the college students here once they graduate and like getting jobs here and like doing stuff like that, they got to provide stuff for those people to do. Like there's got to be more restaurants and venues and bars and fun stuff, arts-based things that, that young people want to experience, So I think they're finally realizing that, which is pretty cool. I saw a mural in downtown Fort Myers on the side of a law office today, and I put it on my Instagram story because I was like, yo, that would have never happened in 2011.
That's sick. Yeah, I saw Nice Guys Pizza too. They just got a really big mural done. That is so cool.
They also are like one of the first places to really bring alternative culture here and provide a space for people like Love Your Rebellion for one of my organizations. They are like the forerunners of that, like I said, Howl. And also Nice Guys. These two places have been like some of my biggest help in establishing a place to play music and a place to like put on music events like I do with Love Your Rebellion. So
yeah, I was gonna ask about that because I only recently moved back to Florida, so it's only been like this last year that I've really started to like kind of get out and like see things and meet people and figure out who's doing what. And Love Your Rebellion, I've been seeing that all over the place. And the one place I set up my art in Bonita, it was the last time they were doing it a couple weeks ago, and multiple people came up to me and were mentioning that, and they said, hey, you should try to come to those events, set up your art, whatever. And I was like, maybe I should look into this. And now since like talking to you and kind of doing some research, thank you for what you're doing for the community first of all.
Thank you.
But how did that, you noticed we needed more of something in the community, so that's what made you really fueled to start this?
Yeah, partially. That's definitely a huge part of it. There's definitely a gap there that I'm trying to fill, we need more music, art, etc., especially stuff that's for like younger generations, because like I said, a lot of the stuff that is music, there's a lot of music and art here, but it's catering to a specific demographic, mostly like 55 and up, and maybe a little bit more like, I don't know, mass market, not like no fringe culture, no like alternative arts districts or punk venues or whatever stuff like that. And I think that's important for a community, like I said. So like I was trying to start getting people to see that that's possible here. That was the biggest challenge. Like first of all, convincing people like, hey, this is something people want that's not here, and they do want it. So that's been great to actually see the reception. Like most people are like very receptive, business owners, attendees, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The second reason is that I just think that art and music and things like that are revolutionary. They have the power to bring people together, and they have the power to like cross bridges that other things can't cross. Sometimes what you can't say with words can be said through music or through an art piece, and that's really important. I think it's really important for people to see the value in all different types of that, whether it be fringe or otherwise. So there's a lot of otherwise here, so I'm providing the fringe part, so people need to recognize that is art and that's important. So
yeah, when did you start really getting going on that?
I've been making the zines since like 2011 when I moved here, strangely enough, by myself. And then right around 2015, we started more of like a group version. My friend Michelle, I'm going to call her out, who's sitting in the corner over there. She is one of the original LYR members and still continues to be a big part of it today. So that's when we started doing like group related efforts. We did zine release parties, and then I did my first Babe Fest in 2016 at Nice Guys, which is really small, local, a lot of like female fronted stuff like that. And then in 2017, we went up to St. Petersburg with Babe Fest, and it's just kind of like grew from there. I've done 2 in the last 2 years. That's one in this area and then one in the Tampa St. Pete area. And it's grown exponentially. Now we do Rock for Equality, which is something I work on with Frankie Colt, who I do the live show with.
And Punk Brunch, right?
Yes, Punk Brunch. We also did that too.
Yeah, that was the only one you've done, right?
Yeah, we're going to do another one, though. I've already locked in the date. We're going to do another one in 2020. So we're going to do it once a year. And, breakfast food trucks and music and, you know, art and stuff. It should be super cool. We're going to make it even bigger. The library really loved it, so we're going to be there again, you know, kind of like providing, again, fringe art during Art Fest, which is downtown's big art event, and there's no, like, weird punk alt element to it, so here I am.
Yeah, that'll be great, because I remember seeing all over social media, because I'm, like, a lot of the people who are affiliated with those events, I'm familiar with, and I saw that whenever that was going on, and I was like, man, I really wish I could have, because I think I worked or something like that, so I couldn't make it, but now I'm, like, counting down the days to the next event like
That's
that.
cool. Yeah, no, it'll be in February, and we have more stuff, like, we do Rock for Equality every year, which is, like, a dueling venue thing, where we have, like, bands play back and forth, and it's multi-genre, so we do everything. We partner with other organizations like Gulf Coast Leisure, and we basically take donations, and we choose one charity every year, and we take half of the proceeds, and half goes to LYR because we're a nonprofit. The other half goes to an organization we picked. And last year we picked the Coalition of Immokalee Workers, and the year before that was Showing Up for Racial Justice Southwest Florida. So we always pick, like, causes that we think are really important for that particular year, you know? Not to say that any of those problems are going away within a year, but you know what I mean. We just try to, like, spread the love a little.
Yeah.
So, like, that's another thing that's, like, really dope, and it's the same kind of vibe. Art vendors, you know, food, you know, music, and just, like, all the cool stuff that you would want from, like, a festival kind of atmosphere.
Hell yeah, making a difference. I imagine that's an organization that it'd kind of be hard to not get behind it because you're doing such good things. But have you ever faced any, like, opposition with, like, venues or people or anything like that?
Not venues. Venues are always really open. And you know what? It's also me, though. I know the places to go. Like, I just have a sixth sense for who I think is going to be aligned with the mission. Like, and then I go for that, you know, in terms of venue owners and stuff like that. But, attendees, you know, it can go any way, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people do get behind the mission, and then there's some people who view what I do maybe as exclusivity versus inclusivity, because I do say, like, oh, this is to celebrate diversity in music, or this is to celebrate, or, like, for our zine, sometimes, you know, we'll say things like only women, people of color, LGBTQ, like, we want that kind of work, and that's what we will favor, and people will be like, that's exclusivity, not inclusivity. And I'm like, yeah, but there's plenty of spaces for all that other stuff. Like, we're trying to cultivate a specific space that's for this. And it, you know, it's not to say that you can't. It's just to say that, like, we think that these voices deserve to be heard too. That's it. And so, yeah. So, but that's rare. It's few and far between, which is nice because you would think down, like, around this area, I'd get a lot of flack, but not that much. I would say maybe 5% out of 100. You know, so
yeah,
that's cool.
That's great, yeah. And then one thing that I saw, because you've been on a handful of cool stuff around here, like through Curate and stuff like that. You did. I wasn't able to find your actual talk, but through Southwest, it was called Southwest Florida Storytellers Project or something like that.
Oh yeah,
you did the tattoo tales.
I did.
I was seeing a couple of the people who spoke about their tattoos and stuff. Yeah. But I wasn't able to find yours.
I have a link to it. I'll send it to you.
Awesome, because that was about your strawberry.
The strawberry tattoo. Ripe fruit attracts by its color.
How did that? I don't know. That was a handful of years ago, I think. But how did that come about?
So I worked for the City and Burn Davis Art Center for like 3 years in downtown doing marketing and other various activities. And so one of the things that I helped them do was bring that Storytellers event to the Art Center. And nice. I helped them build that connection with the news press. And as a part of that, the people who ran it, they were like, well, can you help us get people to tell stories? And I was like, I'll tell a story. I mean, you can just have me. And then, yeah, sure, I'll help you. And they were like, oh, perfect, fantastic, you know, so that's how that came about. It was super fun.
Yeah, and I feel like, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's gotten a lot better over the years and whatnot, but with, like, tattoos, the stigma of, like, in the workplace and whatnot, I feel like something like that at such a big public event, it would be a good way for the people who are still stuck in the mindset of, like, if you're a tattoo, you've got tattoos, you're a hooligan or whatever. Right. When people telling about how, like, what this beautiful art piece means and why it's on my body, it kind of might change the minds of those who are still stuck.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and you would be surprised. The audience was the usual audience that you would see out, so, like, you know, 40 and up, basically, and they received all the stories really well. Some of them were, you know, really heart-wrenching, like a woman who told the story of getting her her father's Holocaust tattoo number tattooed on her as like a reminder. And
the blue dot,
and then Matt Freed with the story of the blue dot, which is about his trials and tribulations as a cancer survivor. Mm-hmm. So like yes, and then there was like funny ones about getting a Superman tattoo on your ass, which is what was one of them. And so yeah, I mean it was really cool to see that, and to maybe say like yeah, maybe I'm a hooligan, okay fine, but maybe hooligans aren't that bad. Maybe we're not going to rob specifically you. Like, maybe you can be our friend.
Yeah, I've been surprised because I feel like I used to think that people were still very standoffish to, like, people who are really tatted up and stuff like that in the workplace. And I work at a grocery store where the main demographic is older people, like 60 and up. And I was thinking now that I have, like, all over my arm that I would get comments all the time about, that's permanent, and this and that. But more people say, wow, that's beautiful. Where did you get it done? And I'm like, thank you. It really changed my mind. I thought people were still stuck in the past,
I think what I think helped that is, as dumb as it is, but the normalization of tattoos through things like Ink Master and the reality shows that show it as like this really intricate art form that has this categorical, measurement for what's good and what's bad, and that it's this really refined thing. Truthfully, you have to be like really like good at it to be considered good at this point. So that I think that's part of what's helped the stigma, truthfully, as silly as it might be, but I think that's part of it. So
yeah. And you were also I didn't see too much about this, but Florida Weekly voted you best Riot Girl.
Yes, that was last year. They do a best of thing which they pick their own categories, so it's like not the same categories every year. They like make up new categories every year for whoever whatever they want to promote. And so last year is 2018 that they gave me that, so that's cool.
Was that just for everything you've been doing in the community?
Yeah, it was for Love Your Rebellion, specifically for the zines that we make, 'cause zines are very specific to Riot Girl culture, that the typical like Kathleen Hanna, Bikini Kill, Riot Girl thing, and music, of course. Like, I guess some people might consider the music I make to be close to what Riot Girl is, but mostly because I'm a female front person. That's why. If I was male, they would probably tell me that I sound like Kurt Cobain, so that's fine. We're not going to talk about that.
Do you have any inspirations in the music world? Not male or female, just inspirations in general that really get you going?
Yeah, I mean, tons, yeah, for sure. I'm a huge Courtney Love fan. I love her so very much, and I have lots of tattoos respecting and representing her. And other females, Brody Dale from the Distillers, and I'm a huge Nirvana fan, which is probably very can be seen in maybe my music or some of the other stuff that I've done. Mm-hmm. Sonic Youth, and more modern stuff would be like, I listen to this band called Milk Teeth from Great Britain, and I really fucking love them. They're super cool. White Lung, I don't know. Anybody who's out there like doing their thing in a space that's predominantly not meant for them is like really dope. So, but yeah. And locally, there's people who really fire me up, like Frankie Colt, my counterpart. She puts in so much work every moment of her life to reach the things she wants and to make music and to create, good artist community and stuff like that. So, she really makes me inspired. And my own team, my Love Your Rebellion team, like my own team working on things and creating things, and the behind the scenes people, making music events happen, that's really drives me too. And like, other people seeing, like, even other people like Malik and stuff like that with Curate, and it's just very inspiring. So
yeah, you and Frankie are both very inspirational figures in this community. Our niece is like 11 or 12, and I hope she's watching this episode because she's that middle school age. So I really try to like show her she can do and be anything she wants to be.
That's awesome.
And I hope that I can kind of like pass on to her some of these inspirational figures, and she can
That's great.
Listen to the music and whatnot.
Thank you.
Hell yeah. You got anything, Danny?
Yeah, real quick. What is Love Your Rebellion?
Oh yeah, he's not familiar.
Okay, so Love Your Rebellion is a nonprofit organization that I started that empowers marginalized groups through the arts. We do that in a couple ways. Music events, specifically the flagship event, which is Babe Fest, and some of the others that I mentioned, like Rock for Equality, Punk Brunch, stuff like that. We also make a zine, which we're going to start making more often. So we publish writers and artists and, give them a space. And we're also working on some educational programming, so basically we just try to bring art to communities that need it. And that's pretty much it.
That's cool.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's kind of like, we're trying to do something similar with this, like, eventually. Just, like, try to branch out more, like, out of a podcast and get into, like, doing it with, like, skating and all sorts of stuff.
That's awesome. Have you guys ever been to the Madhouse?
Yeah, we just went to our first show there the other day, actually.
It's a really cool, like, indoor skate situation. So,
yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and the guy we had last week, Rob Hoovis, he was telling us that, maybe I shouldn't put this on the air, but they're not going to do any more music events for the summer just because it's half indoor. Yeah, and it's half indoor, half outdoor, so if it rains, they don't have the capacity to fit all in that warehouse.
Oh, boy.
Yes, but they are going to...
trouble.
Yeah, they are going to do... And he said it isn't ventilated or something, so it would be hell in there.
Yeah.
And but they are going to do a lot more art shows and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool. That's great.
I want to go more often. I want to go to skate, mainly, because it's a skate
that's
park.
why I brought it up.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like the only spot in this area that you can skate in.
Yeah, and that's something we talked with him about. We're really trying to, like, not only shed light on all these... musicians and artists and skaters and stuff, but we also just want to show the community, like the higher ups in the community, that there is a
value.
There is a community and there is a desire for a skate facility of some sort,
right?
Even if it's just like a parking lot for us to set up our own ramps or something.
Yeah. There's another place. Have you guys ever been to the House of Ride Nature in downtown Fort Myers?
Yeah, my friend's actually there right now. He invited me, but I was like, no, I can't go. But they're cool too. They have that ramp. You can go anytime.
Yeah. They should build it out a little bit more, but it's a good start.
Yeah, and that's kind of like an end goal for us too. We want to because skateboarding is something that's like our primary passion. So with this, we want to try to like kind of branch out and maybe get our own place one day where we can invite people.
That's awesome. I wish you the best of luck.
It all starts somewhere,
For sure.
Has it been 25 minutes? Let's take a little break. I'm going to turn on the AC because it's getting toasty.
You got it.
Reset the cameras and all that. And we'll be right back with you with episode 15 with Angela Page. All right, we're back. We're going to take a couple steps backwards because I actually was wondering about your time growing up before high school, before moving down here and whatnot. What was the scene in Fort Lauderdale like?
So definitely not as poppin' as it is now. But actually, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong about that because, and I'm going to date myself here, but that's fine. When I was growing up, Newfound Glory was coming up in my community. So there was this venue when I was a kid called Club Q. It no longer exists. And it was definitely a bar, but they had all ages nights and they still had adults in it though. Because, this is a strange time. And bands like A Newfound Glory, which had an A in the name back then, would come through there. There was other people like Dashboard Confessional started in my, which I'm not saying I'm a huge fan, but Dashboard Confessional started in my hometown as well. And so we saw Chris Carrabba play when I was growing up, like literally when I was like a kid, like, teenager, young teenager. We had really cool music venues that had like mid-sized stuff. So probably one of my biggest claims to fame is that I used to pull up in this this van with my friends that was like from the 80s, and it had that like felt material on the inside that's like, you could draw on with marker and stuff. And we used to sit outside of this venue called the Sunrise Music Theater that's no longer there either. That was in Fort Lauderdale. And sit out there and wait for tour buses and get bands to go in and sign this van. So the Deftones signed the van, Incubus signed the van, this band called Taproot signed the van, Glassjaw signed the van. The guitar player from Glassjaw drew a pig fucking Hitler in the ass on the top of this van because my friend was like, I'm Christian, please don't draw anything dirty. And he was like, okay. That's what he drew. So like So it was cool because like a lot of mid-sized bands that are now thought of as like being a huge deal, like the Deftones and Glassjaw, you know, big rep. You know, they came through my town, and I got to see them, and they were nice to us, and we met a lot of them, and it was like you're like making me go back in time. I like forgot all this stuff, but yeah. It was kind of fucking cool. Now that I think about it, it was kind of really dope. So yeah, I guess it's always been pretty good. I don't know.
So what happened to that van?
You know, I'm really sad to say that I'm pretty sure he sold it, and I don't know if he cut the felt out of it or not. I really wish he had. I'm not sure if he did, but no. Yeah, I know. I feel that way too. He also had a bass that Chi from the Deftones signed. And it has his signature, and it has the year 2000. It says Deftones, and that's probably worth a bunch of money because unfortunately she has passed. He's no longer alive. So I wonder what happened to that bass too. I have a picture of my first bass player, my friend Susan, who's the creator of Modcloth, by the way. Who it's just like a photo of her like holding up the bass that had this signed by Chi like before a show or something. So I swear I'm not this cool. I swear I'm not this cool.
Do you travel a lot? Because I see on your Instagram you've got a ton of really cool like travel photos and stuff. Is that something you do regularly?
I try. You know, it's all about trying to like save enough to make that happen. So yeah, I try to go away. You know, maybe once every few months to different places. I love San Francisco. I like to go back there. Like I try to go back once a year. It's like one of my best friends lives out there, and I just really love it. And like. Pseudo pretend that I live there for like 10 days when I go. And I'm actually about to go to DC in New York. I'm going to World Pride in New York City with my brother.
Nice.
So yeah, so that you know, I try to, you know, see some different things if I can.
Hell yeah. Is there anything, because it sounds like you've gone and done a whole lot. Is there anything that you look back on as like one of like the proudest moments of your efforts? Something you think back and think, that was really hard and I fucking did it.
Yeah, you know what? If you're going to go with really hard, probably my master's degree. That sounds crazy, but I went to what's called a low residency program. So it was like school by mail. And I went to this residency. It was a writer's college at Goddard College. I went there every 6 months for 10 days. And like I built like a program with my advisor, and then went home and I wrote a book back and forth through this. So it was really hard, but it was really cool, and I have a lot of amazing memories. And I got to live in Vermont for roughly like 40 days over the course of 2 years, which is a cool way to experience another place. Yeah. You know, you really value it, and so it holds a really special place in my memory. So. Wait,
so do you have a master's in creative writing?
Yes, and creative and critical writing. So like there's social theory involved in it too. So I studied a lot of feminist theory. Wow. And then I also studied creative writing. So
that explains a lot. Who are some of your favorite authors?
Margaret Atwood, Kurt Vonnegut, poets Kim Adonisio, Lucille Clifton, let's see, Toni Morrison, novelist, Tom Robbins. I don't know. There's a long list. Herman Hesse. Yeah.
So you said you wrote a book in that time while you were doing your master's?
Did. Yeah, it's called Speaking with My Second Mouth.
Is that published?
Yes.
Where can I get it?
On Amazon. You can buy a print copy, and you can also get a digital copy like on Kindle and stuff.
Nice. Is that have you published any other works?
No, that's my first book of many, hopefully.
When was that? Was that published pretty soon after your master's? Or
no,
recently?
Actually, I just published it earlier this year? Yeah, February. Wow. Yeah, it took me a long time to be like, okay, I'm gonna put this out. I don't know why, but it just took me a long time.
Nice. Okay, what was that process like? Because I've written a book, and I'm in the process of kind of getting. I'm in that trying to get the courage to what do I do with it?
What are you writing, if I may ask?
It's young adult fantasy.
That's great. So. And your experience may not be like mine. I wrote a poetry book that's mostly autobiographical, in which I worked out a lot of my own demons. So I've had a nervous breakdown in the middle of it, if I'm totally honest, which is fine. But it came out really fucking good. So whatever, it's for the art, whatever. But yeah, I imagine when I write something else, I also want to write, strangely enough, a young adult, sci-fi post-apocalyptic thing.
Hell yeah.
So I hope it won't be as mentally deteriorating as it was to write the poetry book. Maybe that's why it took me so long to put it out. Who knows? But yeah.
Did you go through a publishing company, or did you self-publish, or how did you do it?
I self-published. Probably about 2/3 of the poems that are in that have been published through like literary magazines and yada yada yada. But the book itself, I self-published it. I'm gonna be honest. I had a hard time finding a press that would publish the work because it's unlike a lot of other poetry out there. It's probably much more vulgar, probably much more raw. Than most things, and I like even went to like feminist press, and they were like, "This is too much," and I was like, "What? Then where the fuck do I go?" If you were like, like
you're the niche.
Yeah, I was like, "It's not that." Then they'd be like, "It's not that it's bad. It's great. It's just a lot." And I was like, "What? Like, okay, well, I guess, all right. I guess I'll just do it myself." So I did, but it took me a long time because I just did whatever.
Yeah, because I figured that is, if you, depending on what you wrote, I figure as long as you find a publishing company that fits whatever it is you're writing.
That's what's supposed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but I mean, So, there's always those stories, though, like, what is it, J.K. Rowling, she got declined, Harry Potter got declined like 7 times or something like that before the final publisher actually picked it up. There's always those stories, like, people like, oh, this is garbage, and it's a bestseller, so.
Yeah, it becomes a phenomenon.
Right.
So, because I'm not like, I'm getting my bachelor's in English at the moment, so wow. I'm like way far behind than you were, so you probably know way more than I do. But what were some of the pros and cons you weighed for going and like getting through a publishing company and then self-publishing? What were some of like the pros and cons?
Okay, that's a good question. So I think a pro to going with a publishing company is that it's still today that the publishing world tries to close out self-publishers, and there's a couple ways that they do that. The first is that book reviewers, so people who review things for magazines or for newspapers, they won't review your book if it's a self-published book. They'll only review books from publishers unless you do really well on your own and they're forced to acknowledge you. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Things like, sorry to say, but things like Twilight, right? People were forced to acknowledge the presence of that book. It was a self-published book, whatever. Like it or hate it, that's not what I'm talking about. Just what happened. Mm-hmm. So that's a that's a drawback of self-publishing, and it's a pro of going with a publisher. And then I would say that the pro of self-publishing is that you have complete control. Nobody can tell you what line to cross out, what word to edit, and that's apparent if you've ever actually picked up a copy of Twilight when it was self-published. It's full of grammatical errors.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you edit your book yourself?
Well, no, because when I wrote it through my, scholarly pursuits, I had 2 writers who were already established poets in their field that I would send work to, and they would act as my editor, give me suggestions for, improvement, and send it back, and we would go through this process back and forth like a real editor, like you would if you had an editor working with you from a publishing company. It was very much the same kind of process. It was really interesting because it taught you how to be a writer, like how to take the criticism, how to, use it, what to throw away, what to keep, and all that stuff. So
your degree has obviously benefited you in your current pursuits and just as an artist, and you're very well spoken, but right out of college, were you pursuing a degree or pursuing a job using your degree? I always was like, well, I'm going to teach. I'll teach, and then if I don't want to teach, I'll do something else. Like I was like, okay, I'm cool with like doing that. So I was a teaching assistant at Full Sail when I got out of UCF, and I did that. And then I did that while I was going to my master's program at Goddard. And then I taught for a while at down here at Edison Community College, so maybe some of your listeners had me as a teacher, which would be hilarious. And then I also taught at ITT Tech, so maybe some of those people know me too. Nice.
I was the associate dean there. They actually let me run a school.
No way.
Yeah. Speaking of with the tattoos thing, I just was like, I don't care. You fire me. Like I don't care. Like you want me, you don't want me. I don't care. And it worked out. So yeah. And then I did marketing the whole time because as a teacher, you don't make a lot. So, another application for the degree is doing marketing, doing, content writing and working with like a web development agency to do the copy on their website or something like that. So there's lots of ways to use a writing degree in the modern world that maybe people don't think about.
Like a zine.
Yeah, like a zine, which is a throwback, but in a cool way. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I'm in the spot now where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be a teacher, and then if something picks up with my writing, like do something with that. But
that's exactly how I was. So, and it's not a bad direction to go in. You just have to also be committed to actually doing the job of teaching, because it's not as if I was like, oh, whatever, I'll teach. No, I really cared about it. I was really into it, and I really cared about the students that I had, and I tried to give them the best experience I could provide. So it's important, Their role models, teachers are some of the best mentors,
Yeah. How long was your teaching career?
Oh, don't ask me that. You know that I'm a 644-year-old elven witch, so
212 years.
Yes, correct. So let's go with that. I think so. I taught probably from like 6 years. Yeah,
6 years,
6, 7 years, something like that. Yeah.
Did you ever consider? I guess you'd be overqualified, but did you consider going and teaching like secondary education or elementary education?
They would not have me. I don't think. I'm a little bit too forthright with my opinions, and so I just don't feel like I feel like I would get in trouble constantly, not from teachers or students, but from administration. They would fucking hate me. So.
I could see that, and you have a master's degree, so why not pursue?
Right, yeah, that's true. I just felt like I had more working with adults. You're talking to an adult no matter what, and it's like, sure, call your mom, great, but you're an adult, so fuck your parent. Like, I'm sorry, but like. This is my rules, or get the fuck out. Like, I don't know what to tell you. So there's a little bit more of a divide there. I mean, it's not totally like that. Like, obviously in state schools and stuff like that, there's administration to contend with and all these other things. But like I said, I still feel like there's more wiggle room when it comes to college and being able to be like a little bit more of the true sense of the word provocative. So somebody who like provokes thoughts and is, maybe a little bit more socially anarchist, I guess. I don't know how to phrase that, but
to where it's not just like this is this order of steps to pass this test, and because as a teacher you want to teach the person something or a bunch of things, and if you're like me, I'm looking at public school right now, just like as a high school teacher or whatever, and I feel like a big part of my job would be catering to like the kids' parents and like these standardized tests and this and that, when like I want to be teaching the kids, I don't want to have to care about like these other little things.
And unfortunately you can't really go into the higher education fields without a master's degree. I think at the collegiate level there's some things you could do with just a bachelor's, like working in writing centers, like or doing if you do what is it, ESOL, I guess, some secondary, second language learners, they'll let you tutor
I've looked into that,
with. Right, so there's some things that you can still do at the collegiate level. So I don't know. It's all about the person, though. Like, I know someone who's like, I can never teach adults, give me a 13-year-old. And I'm like, no, no thanks.
By chance, have you heard of Tom DeMarchi?
No.
Because he was one of my writing professors at FGCU, and he does an event. I don't think he does it anymore, but he did a thing for years and years called Sanibel Island Writers Conference.
Oh yeah, that's still a thing. It's out there.
He's still doing it?
Oh, I don't know if it's him. I have no idea, but that conference definitely exists.
Have you been to one?
I have not, but I have heard about it, and I really don't know who goes out there. I don't know what the conference is really like. I probably should learn, but I don't know.
It's really cool. I had to go 1 year because I was in his class, and he like waived the fee when it's actually like kind of expensive to go. But it's now that I'm not in his class, I will pay that money because it's worth every penny. Because it's like you're like it's a weekend. Not only are you on Sanibel Island for a weekend, which is cool in itself.
Oh, so you stay there?
Yeah. You don't have to.
But I know. But like, do they provide you rooms to like stay in, or do you have to go home?
I think some people commuted to and from the island every day, but I just got a little cottage on the island.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And I just stayed there all weekend, and it was awesome because the whole weekend is filled with published novelists and writers of all sorts that put on little seminars, and there's like a whole bunch of, like any conference, there's a whole bunch of seminars you can go to, and you can choose like If you want to learn about writing comedy, go to this for a couple
Yeah.
hours. If you want to learn about writing romance, go to this. And I focused on what I write. Like, I went to a lot of poetry stuff. I submitted poetry. I went to a woman named Margot Robbie, or not Margot Robbie, that's an actress. I think her name's Margot Robb, I think. But anyway, she was a young adult novelist, and I went to her seminars because that pertained to what I was writing.
Sure.
And I learned more in that weekend than I learned through my whole college, I think.
That's very cool. That's kind of how my education at my master's program was. The 10 days was like intensive workshops. So imagine that, but you're in the woods in cabins and there's nothing around you because you're in Vermont, and you stay there and they feed you and you go to workshops and you meet with, writing mentors and do all these cool things like that. So, and like it was super liberal college, so they would like encourage us to hang out and party and get to know each other, and it was the coolest shit in the world, man.
That sounds like a dream come true.
It was very cool and super surreal. You said something about like a supernatural aspect to this podcast. So that I have a story about that college that pertains to that topic.
Okay, real quick before we get into that, I am because I went at the writers conference. They had a panel on publishing books, and they had a panel on if you want to pursue your MFA, and that's something I do really want to do one day, because especially hearing what you've been through, that sounds like something that I would really, really enjoy.
It was very expensive, so be prepared for that, but it's cool. I might pay the loans off, I might not, I might die with debt, I don't really care, but it was very instrumental in shaping me as a person, so I think you can't really put a price tag on.
Yeah, they can't repo your education either. So.
Right, exactly. Can't take that shit back. I got it.
But yeah, we do ask every guest. We forgot with Rob Hubis. I don't know if he'd have a story, but we ask every guest if they have any sort of like ghost or unexplainable or supernatural story. Let's hear it.
Okay, so Goddard College is a place where apparently there's lots of ghost sightings. When I went there, I had a classmate named Cynthia who was a witch, and she was descendants of Romani people who are often classified as gypsies, but we don't say that word. And she would tell me that this place was an apex of like supernatural and celestial energy, similar to another town which is in Florida called Casadega. So she said all this stuff the first time I met her when I went up there for my very first semester, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. It was the summer in Vermont. It was amazingly beautiful, and at night it gets a little cold, so like behind the music room there was always like fires. They would leave wood for us so that we could make fires and like hang out and whatever, drink, talk, whatever with the student body. And so this one night is like the last night, and I go down to the fire and I'm chilling, I'm hanging out, I'm drinking, hanging out with friends, whatever, and I see someone take a photo of the fire, and in my like weird drunken state I'm like, that looks cool, I'm gonna take a picture of the fire. So I do it, and I look at the screen, there's no fire, which of course some people would be like, well, of course it's fire. So there's no fire, but there's smoke coming off of the pyre that is in the shape of an 18th century or 17th century woman. So like a bun and a bustle, like a big dress. The photo is on my Facebook page, and I can totally send it to you guys so you can like post it so your viewers can see it. Or your listeners, viewers, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, that can't be real. Whatever, just like, wow, no way. And so I come to find out that the main house on this campus, which was in the woods, this is the same place that I'm talking about, the main house, part of the original wood used to make this manor house was from the gallows at the Salem witch trial, because I guess the original owners of the property, it was a farmland, they moved out of Salem and took some of the wood from the gallows and used it to build the house. So this place has this like weird celestial energy, and like the next morning I woke up and then remembered the photo and was like, looked back at it, and sure enough, there she is. And even to this day, if I look at the photo, I see her. So I think she just wanted to show herself to me, to be like, hey, what's up, I'm here. Every time you took photos in that place, there would be like those light bubbles, like you know what I'm talking about. Those like they're like, and it's not like one, it's like hundreds in the photos. It's fucking wild. So yeah, that place was like magic. I'm not exactly sure it existed. I might have paid for like a virtual reality experience because it just seems so surreal. But like it's it was pretty cool. So that's probably my best ghost story.
Heck yeah, that's a good one. Do you are you someone who, like, if you heard of a advertisement for like a haunted hotel or something, is that something you'd be like, ooh, I'm gonna check that out, or
No.
are you standoffish?
No, I like witchy shit, but I don't fuck with ghosts. I think like inviting that stuff into your life can be problematic, and like, so like I'm pretty sure this ghost that I saw was like, hey, I'm a good ghost, just so you know, you don't have to be afraid, because I like it's definitely a weird energy in that place.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, no, we like you guys. That was like kind of the feeling I got from it. So, but yeah, no, I will not do that. Like, I won't be like, you know, go on a, you know, it's fine if they want to show themselves to me, they can. But you know, we can live our separate lives.
See, that's one of the reasons I ask everyone, because I don't have any stories like that. I've never experienced anything like that, and I want to. Like, I'm a believer. I don't have any stories.
That's really interesting. So do you seek out the experiences of
Yeah.
like haunted stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And that's interesting. There are some people that think that, you know, there's some that have a sixth sense for like, you know, specters and
Mm-hmm.
that they appear to those folks a little bit more often or something like that. And I don't know, but I don't really know about that. So
Yeah, because I'm a really logical person, so anytime something kind of weird happens, I just think like, oh, well, coincidence or this or
Right.
that. But people tell stories where I even think, if that happened to me, there's zero,
yeah,
like, there's no way that it's not.
yeah. I don't know. You might, if you looked at the photo that I'm going to show you and just saw it, you might not see the shape. But now that I've told the story, you'll probably see the shape. So you always have to worry: is it the chicken or is it the egg? You don't, you know. I guess that's the fun of ghosts, right?
Yeah, it is fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, you got anything you want to add before we wrap it up, Danny?
Not really. Unless she wants to give a shout out though.
Yeah, actually, we do a thing. We do local legends where we try to every episode shout out like a local business or just someone who's killing it or just something like that. And I know you probably have hundreds and hundreds.
Can I do like 30?
You could just go.
Okay, great. Nice Guys Pizza, shout out Howell Gallery Tattoo, shout out Frankie Colt and her band Cobras, Love Your Rebellion, my nonprofit, obviously, Remedies Parlor, Bullet Coffee and Bites, Das Co-op. I'm like on the spot here. I hope I'm not leaving anybody out that like I'm super into, but I think that's a good crop right there. Those are like the spots, you know.
Heck yeah! And then, do you have anything you want to shout out or plug personally? Any events you got coming up, or?
No, the summer is kind of like a little downtime. We plan for our season, but definitely follow our Instagram and our Facebook page, Love Your Rebellion. You can find us any way by searching those. And we'll be adding our season events for 2019-2020 by the end of the summer. So around about September is when you'll see all the announcements come out for the coming year. So follow us and we'll drop some breadcrumbs and let everybody know what's going on. But we have a lot of cool shit coming up, so.
Yep, and then you can tune into her show. Every Tuesday you do live stream of Talking Tough with Frankie, right?
Me and Frankie Colt do Talking Tough live show, 7:30 p.m. every Tuesday. And you can tune into it via the Facebook page. You can just search Talking Tough with Frankie and Angela, and you'll come up to our page. We, shout out music events that are happening. We shout out new releases from Southwest Florida artists. We feature a Southwest Florida artist every week, and we also talk about social issues and different kinds of things that are, important to discuss. So, yeah.
Awesome. All right. This is a good time to wrap it up then. This has been episode 15 with Angela Page. Thank you so much for coming out.
You're very welcome.
You're probably the most established person that we have on here so far because you've done a lot of cool stuff.
Thank
really
you.
have.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you guys for having me, and I wish you the best of luck.
Yeah, thanks for supporting us. So if you're listening right now, we're still starting out, but we always want to thank whoever's listening at this time because you're the real one if you're listening
That's
now.
That's right, 100.
Yeah, and if whatever you're listening on, please like or comment or share with a friend or do anything to really show that you're listening and that you support what we're doing for the community. So, all right, this has been another great episode. Thank you so much for listening. Hit him with the outro. Biscuit.